Brandon Mason Lawson was born on November 18, 1986 in Fort Worth, Texas, to Brad and Kimberly. He grew up with his sister Brittany and brothers Kyle and Billy. Brandon met Ledessa Lofton in high school, and they eventually became partners, having 3 children together. He was a hardworking man who loved spending time outdoors, especially fishing and camping. He worked long hours in the oil fields for Renegade Well Services, though he was about to start a new job. At the time of his disappearance, Brandon had been sober for about 6 months after struggling with... On the evening of August 8, 2013, Brandon, 26, came home to San Angelo, Texas, and got into an argument with Ledessa. The tension was partly due to stress. Brandon was working long hours while taking care of their young kids. Ledessa was also worried because Brandon had been gone the night before, which made her fear he might be using again. Brandon and Ledessa had a habit of giving each other space when they disagreed. They would take time apart to cool down before talking again. Around 11:30 p.m., Brandon called his father, Brad, to explain what had happened. He told him he was thinking of coming to visit. Brad, who lived about 3 hours away in Crowley, Texas, tried to talk Brandon out of making the drive, but Brandon decided to go anyway. Ledessa later spoke about how much she regretted the last words they exchanged, knowing they would be the final ones she'd ever have with him. At 11:54 p.m., Brandon left in his silver Ford F-150, and he was never seen or heard from again. On his way to Crowley, Brandon ran out of gas and pulled over on Route 277 between San Angelo and Bronte, Texas. He called his brother, Kyle, who lived nearby, and asked him to bring some gas. While on the phone, Brandon told Kyle that he thought he was being followed by 3 people. Kyle wasn't sure if Brandon was being serious and asked if he was seeing things or maybe on... But Brandon assured him he wasn't. Kyle then spoke to Ledessa, who put a gas container out for Brandon to pick up. Kyle, with his wife Audrey and their young child, went to grab it. Since Kyle was low on money, the plan was for Brandon to go to a gas station and fill the container himself. When they arrived, they found Brandon's truck on the side of the road, but Brandon was gone. A sheriff's deputy showed up shortly after a trucker reported the vehicle was blocking traffic. Brandon called Kyle again and said, "I can see you. I'm right here." But neither Kyle nor the deputy could find him. After a few minutes, Kyle wondered if Brandon might be avoiding the officer, especially since he had recently found out there was a warrant for his arrest from an old case. But as more phone calls from Brandon would later show, it seemed something else was going on. Throughout the night, there were several calls to and from Brandon's phone, but many of them dropped or couldn't connect, likely because of poor cell reception in the area. Brandon's 911 call has been talked about a lot over the years. It's hard to make out exactly what he said, and the background noise makes it even more difficult to understand what was going on.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. It's like we're just pushing some guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. Got chasing to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
People have spent years trying to figure out the mysterious sounds from Brandon's 911 call. Some think they might be gunshots, while others believe they're just vehicles crossing a nearby bridge. To this day, no one knows for sure what the sounds were. After the 911 call, the operator tried to call Brandon back but couldn't reach him and left a voicemail. It's unclear why Brandon didn't answer. Poor cell service in the area could have been to blame. Interestingly, he still managed to make several other calls after this. Some listeners believe they can hear another person in the background of the 911 call. In slowed-down versions, it sounds like a faint voice saying things like, "Get up and protect yourself." That night, Brandon's family searched everywhere they could but found no trace of him. After the 911 call, there were no more calls from Brandon, and it seemed like he had disappeared without a trace. At first, law enforcement thought Brandon might be hiding because of an outstanding warrant, but this didn't make much sense since he had specifically asked for help during his 911 call. Brandon's family, including Ledessa, didn't give up. They searched tirelessly, even hiring a plane to help scan the area. Unfortunately, some landowners nearby wouldn't let them search their property, which made things harder. Despite their efforts, they couldn't find any answers. Law enforcement also organized their own searches, using helicopters, ATVs, cadaver dogs, and search teams. They focused on the rugged area near US 277, a harsh landscape full of rattlesnakes and feral hogs. The only clue they found was a spot under a tree near the road, where it looked like someone had recently sat down. Even with all these efforts, no one has been able to figure out what happened to Brandon Lawson. After all these years, Brandon's family has never stopped hoping to find answers about what happened to him. The unusual circumstances surrounding his disappearance have led to several theories. Brandon's brother, Kyle, later revealed that Brandon had recently started using again. Some believe this might have affected his judgment that night. According to this theory, Brandon may have gotten lost in the rugged terrain and either gotten injured or been unable to survive the harsh conditions. The area where Brandon disappeared is home to wild hogs and other animals. Some wonder if he could have been attacked while trying to find help. Another possibility is that Brandon ran into dangerous individuals. This theory is based on what some people interpret as sounds and voices in the background of his 911 call, along with his claim that someone was chasing him. Early in the investigation, some thought Brandon might have decided to leave town to avoid dealing with an arrest warrant. Reports suggested that he had cashed out his 401k, which seemed to support the idea that he was preparing to leave. However, Brandon's family firmly denies this theory. They are convinced he would never have abandoned his children, who meant the world to him. His partner, Ledessa, explained that the warrant wasn't a major issue and was already being handled through their lawyer. According to Ledessa, Brandon would never run from his kids, and while he had an outstanding warrant, we were in the process of saving to pay his fine and addressing it through our lawyer. Additionally, there has been no activity on Brandon's bank accounts or social security number since the night he vanished. Brandon's father, Brad, also doesn't believe his son left on his own. However, he isn't sure whether Brandon passed away in the area where his truck was found. Interestingly, Brandon's phone last pinged at 1:19 a.m., about 3 miles from where his truck was located. This has led some to wonder if he might have been picked up by a passing driver. In February 2022, Brandon's family shared that a search team had found items of clothing near where he was last seen. "I had a search team that's close to me, led by advocate Jason Watts," Ledessa shared. "And he led a search team. It was really cold there, about 10 searchers, and they found his shoes and his shorts." Not long after, the Texas Rangers conducted their own search and found him in the area. While the DNA results are still pending, Brandon's family believes the remains are his and that they are one step closer to understanding what happened to him that night. "We feel in our hearts it's him," Ledessa said. "Who else could it be? Brandon wouldn't leave his family. He wasn't that type of person." As of June 2023, the remains are still unidentified due to decomposition. 2 labs have tried but couldn't extract enough DNA for testing, and the Texas Rangers are now exploring other methods. Thank you for taking the time to hear Brandon Lawson's story. His disappearance is still a heartbreaking mystery, and his family's determination to find answers shows just how much he is loved and missed. Thank you for watching, and please take care of yourselves and your loved ones.